Maybe for those of you who are already in the call, feel free to use the chat like Simon did to maybe say hello, introduce yourself, where you're from, which organization you are working for, if you would like to do that, of course. We will also use the chat for questions that you have for Pierre. So it is exactly 12 o'clock. Thanks all of you for your patience, for this little chit chat that Pierre and I had. And welcome to this Wednesday webinar, where today Pierre from CLS, who's also a member organization of Fleet Forum, will talk about speed and how speed influences safety, of course, but also what you can do to monitor and decrease speeding incidents in your organization. But before we do that, Pierre, if you can just go one slide back. Super. At Fleet Forum, we do have a new feature that we are testing out right now. And that is that we are adding closed captions in different languages to the webinar. So if you are not so familiar in English, or if you would like to read what Pierre is saying in a different language, then you can use a little, let's say, AI-powered chat bot. I have pinned in at the top of the chat. I have pinned a link, and if you use that link, then you then another screen will open. You have to adjust your screen a little bit so that you can look at what people are saying versus looking at the slides that Pierre is using. And that way we hope that also for non-native English speakers that our webinars become more open and more attractive to participate in. Like I said, if you have any questions for Pierre, feel free to post them in the chat. And then without any further ado, I will hand over to Pierre. I will mute my mic, mute my camera, and then Pierre, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Rose, for introduction. Hello, everyone. So my name is Pierre Cuny, and I am the product manager for Humanav at CLS. And today we will talk about speeding, especially to monitor speeding and decrease speeding. I will give you an introduction about speed, and after we will have a deeper look on how we can, what are the actions you can put in place to decrease speeding, and how also the VTS can help you to monitor and decrease speeding within your organization. Okay. So first of all, why is speed so important? Because when we talk about road safety, we know that speeding is recognized as one of the greatest risk of factor for road crashes. It's around 30% of road crashes are linked to speeding. So that's why it's really important, and it has impacts. Strong impacts on especially on three items. First of all, the driver's ability to keep control on the vehicle. So the fastest is the speed of the vehicle. The more difficult the driver can steer around curves or objects, for example, on the road, or even potholes. We know that the road conditions can be difficult, and the speed has a big impact on the way to control the vehicle. It has also an impact on the field vision of the driver. The field vision is larger when the speed is lower, and when you go fast, you just have a look on what is in face of you, and it's there is a strong link between the speed and the field vision. And also, last but not least, sorry, the stopping distance for emergency braking. It includes, first of all, the reaction of the driver, because you still have a reaction for braking, but also after the braking distance of the vehicle. When you push a brake, if the speed is high, the distance will be higher to stop the vehicle. Okay. So some statistic around speeding. So for all that reasons, as a result, there is an increase with speeding of the likelihood of a road crash. Sorry. Uh, there is a strong correlation here between the speed and the probability of crash. Okay. On 5% increase in average speed leads to approximately a 20% increase in fatal crashes. Okay, and it is there are studies on it. This one come from WHO, and there is a strong correlation between speed and the probability of crash and also the severity of consequences of a crash. For road users and car occupants, especially pedestrian, because we know that a lot of crash include pedestrian. Road users can be motor vehicles, but a lot of them are pedestrians. And we know that there is a strong correlation, again, between the speed and the probability of fatal injury for pedestrian hit. 80% of chance to survive if the speed during the crash is less or equal to 30 kilometers per hour. But this probability decreases a lot regarding the speed, especially it's 80% when the speed is 50%. And we know that the crash with pedestrians are mainly into cities or refugee camps. So keeping the speed below 50% is really important, especially in cities, to avoid this kind of accident and the risk associated. Okay, I put you also the link. There are very complete report done by WHO. Thank you to them for that. So you can have a look with there is a link in the presentation to have a deeper look on all this statistic and some other one interesting. Okay. So for that reasons, the key people to reduce speeding are of course drivers because they drive the vehicles, and we need to involve them in the organization to be aware that compliance with speed limits is essential, and we have to do a strong focus on this point. What we can do to help them, first of all, is to ensure that schedules and journey plans are realistic and can be achieved without speeding. If we plan a lot of missions within the day with unrealistic schedules, for sure they will have to have a high speed style of driving. So first of all, be realistic with schedules and journeys. Then through training, sensibilize them about risk of speeding and their consequences. Training is really important to make them understand that it's really important to respect the speed limits, especially about the speed is can be different also regarding the type of road, because types of road will have an impact on the speed, on the risk. It won't be the same in urban areas or rural roads, for example. Road with pothole, you have to decrease the speed, even if the speed limit is the same than in other parts. But there is a strong impact of the types of road with the speed. Impact of weather also can have an impact, because we know that we talk about stopping distance before. We know that if the weather is wet and the road is wet, it will have an impact on the stopping distance. Okay. And then the importance of keeping safe distance from other vehicles, because also due to the stopping distance, The higher the speed, the higher will be the stopping distance. So it's really important to adapt the speed regarding this point. To support this objective, a driver recognition program can motivate the driver to be involved in the speeding regulation. So yeah, you can think about putting that kind of program in place to do it in a positive way. Okay, so now I will have a look, a deeper look in how can a VTS vehicle tracking system can support speeding reduction, because if you are equipped with a VTS, it can be a tool like you might have one, for example, but there are other one also on the market. So the VTS can strongly support you for the speeding reduction, because it's constantly and accurately monitors the speed level of the vehicle. Okay. Even if it doesn't trigger messages every seconds, it can constantly monitor the speed and send a message if there is a speeding detection, to send a message to either, there is two ways to use it, either to warn the staff directly, including driver, or it can be maybe the passenger with the driver. You can have a phone call, or you can send a text to say, "Hi, you are driving too fast. You have to decrease the speed." Or for an afterward analysis, data analysis, you can record this alert, and to have data in reporting to analyze especially the trends, to have factual data. It's the last point to demonstrate that there are speeding events, and train the driver to progress within driver recognition program I mentioned before, for example, to have this basis. So concretely, how it works, we'll give you a concrete example. So if you have a VTS with a speeding alerts, you can configure maximum speed limit, for example, 100 kilometer per hour, okay, within one country. It can be different between several countries, for sure. You can have a national speed limit. And if there is a detection, for example, at this time, date and time, that the speed of the vehicle is higher than 100 kilometer, it can start a speed event, and record this speeding, okay, and send another message at the end of the speeding end, with a speeding duration. So here in this example is 23 seconds, with 110 kilometers per hour. It is the maximum speed reached, okay? So this speeding events was between 100 kilometers per hour, and the maximum speed was 110, and with 23 seconds speeding duration, okay? And this data can be recorded, can trigger an alert on the platform, or even SMS alert. And you can warn also the driver on the passenger, or at the end, you can also analyze it in a complete report with a number of speeding events during a week or months, and after sensibilize driver during training, okay? When we talk about speeding monitoring with VTS, there are three levels, okay? The one I show you is that the one with a national speed limit, okay? So you set up a higher speed limit in the country, and it is used by default. But you can go further also. You can manage vehicle exceptions, okay? You know that for some vehicles, the speed limit will be higher, or even generally lower, or even higher. So for example, 4x4 speed limit will be different than sudden ones. And you know that ambulance can be higher, because there is if there is an emergency with an ambulance, you won't trigger all the speeding with a national speed limit, for example, because in some situation it's normal to go faster. Okay. And you can also define local speed limit with the geofencing features in a platform like HumanAV. You can define zones with dedicated speed limits, specific speed limits, especially for cities. It won't be the national speed limit, or refugee camps, for example, because we know that in refugee camps there are a lot of activities, a lot of people, of refugees, especially with children, and the speed should be lower even than the maximum speed in cities. It should be maybe 30 kilometers per hour. Okay. So concrete example with 3 levels to show you. It can be, for example, 100 kilometers per hour at country level. Okay, like the previous example with real data I show you. An exception for vehicle exception can be 80 kilometers per hour for armored vehicles, because that we know that armored vehicles will have different speed limit, which should be lower than regular soft skin vehicles. Okay, or it can be 120 for an ambulance, for example. And the local speed limit can be, for example, 50 kilometers per hour in cities. Okay, so with this 3 level, you should have a complete speeding monitoring with the VTS. Our advices. I show you the 3 levels you can set up in a platform, but our advice is if you start speeding monitoring with VTS, is to start simple, okay, with a national speed limit. First of all, it will be easier to configure and easier to understand for everyone in the organization. And then when you want to go further, you can set up a specific speed limit or local speed limit. But first of all, start simple to have something easy in the organization. Okay. You can also add a tolerance margin. Okay. Because to be sure that you won't trigger all the really small speeding events, and to be sure that this solution will be acceptable also for driver, you can maybe add a small tolerance margin, for example, 2%, so 102 instead of 100. And at the beginning also, we advise to analyze global trends instead of each individual speeding events. Because the global trends will give you high-level data, but you can analyze if you put in place trainings, what are the impacts at the global level before than having a look on each individual speeding events, maybe with each driver. Okay, and present it in a positive way, maybe by a driver recognition program if possible. Explain that speeding reduction will have positive impact. So it's not only just to have a look on a surveillance on the driver way of driving, sorry. But it's also about reduce risk of road crashes, okay, which have a strong impact for everyone, to increase the safety of road users, especially pedestrians, but also in-car people, including the driver. And last but not least, also as a bonus, I would say, because safety is really important, but it has also an impact, a positive impact on sustainability, and to reduce fuel consumption of the vehicle, because we know that high speed has lead to high fuel consumption. So it will have a lot of positive impact. So you should put it emphasis all this positive impact within the organization to explain why you are starting a speeding monitoring program with VTS. Okay. So it was my last slide, and thank you all for your presence. And if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer to the questions.
So thanks, Pierre. And we just posted a message on in the chat that if you have any questions for Pierre, then please feel free to post them in the chat. No. So one of the, it's not really a question, but it is more I think an addition from Carlos from UNHCR, saying that reducing speed also reduces damage to the vehicles,
sure.
and that is
Thank
definitely
you, Carlos.
also. So for reducing the speed has like Pierre was demonstrating, has a positive impact on different accounts, right? First and foremost, safety, but also reduction of emissions, because the lower that you drive, the less emissions that you emit, and it has a very, very positive impact on your cost as well. And I see that in the chat, Yatinder, and it's great to see this active participation of people, is posting a image of the different impacts, I would say, of speed on the different impacts on speed. The impact that different speeds have when in a crash. And he is asking if he can explain it. I think yes, because we don't have. Let me see, Yatinder, if I can make you quickly. And if you can just then briefly explain, I will make you. Where are you? Let me find you. I made you a presenter right now, so you are able, because I think it is interesting, and like I said, there is not a there's no question so far. There we have. Welcome, Yatinder.
Hello.
Hello.
No, visibly the microphone is muted.
Okay, so let me then. Where are? So this is new, right? Where do we have?
Okay, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I wanted to show this because this is a very interesting presentation, and in fact, road safety is one area where I'm also associated in CRO. And I wanted to show when he was explaining, the speed and all. Now, if you look at the screen, if you look at it shows very interestingly the impact. If you're falling from a fifth floor, it's like impact on a vehicle if somebody hits at the speed of 60 kilometers an hour. Similarly, if you are falling from eighth floor, it's 80 kilometers an hour. So this gives an idea. If you're falling from 13th floor, the impact of the accident or the crash is 100 kilometers. So it's very simply explained, and we got this particular screen in from Thailand, one of the participants. So I started using in my presentation. I just wanted to show it that how interestingly and how effectively it has been shown.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for
Thanks a
this. And
lot.
I think it, like you said, it makes it more relatable for people to understand. Okay, so if you look at a tall building and think, oh, if I fall from that floor, instead of relating it to the speed limit. I see we have a question, Pierre,
Exactly.
from Stuart, who is asking, is it possible to include varying times of operations for speed limits? compliance with speed limits is a minimum requirement, and there are times where drivers need to reduce speed below the posted limit. So basically, instead of relating it to locations, what you explained, like, okay, you can put a different speed limit if you are operating in a refugee camp or close to markets, where you say, okay, then we want our drivers to go down to maybe 30 kilometers. Can you also do that for times during the day?
Okay, so at different times during the day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's possible to configure several geofencing features with zone and point of interest relating to speed. At that time, honestly, we don't have this possibility to limit the time zone for the speed limit, but it can be an evolution for the future, for
Yeah.
sure, to go further on this point, and interesting.
Yeah.
Indeed.
So maybe one thing to put on your development wish list for the
Yes.
future, where you say, okay, well, during the day we maybe want to allow 80 kilometers per hour, but during the night we want to reduce it because driving at night has its own challenges already, right? And maybe you want to differentiate
For
there.
sure.
Or driving during peak hours is different. Any other questions? I see great illustration. I see Mary making a comment that as an organization, there's also corporate image to protect. No organization wants to be tagged as having reckless drivers. So, and I think that's very true. Part of the reputation of organizations, but also as duty of care, right? I see. God, oh, well, another one maybe for the wish list, Pierre. We opened up a development wish list for you to regulate speeds according to the weather conditions. Similar to timings, and maybe the more sophisticated systems are getting, the more organizations are able to maybe to customize, because if you are operating in an environment where you are where you are subject to different weather conditions that are definitely require different driving styles or different speeding at different moments, that would be an interesting development, I would say.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure.
So,
interesting. Thank you, Carlos, for sharing.
yeah, so okay. And Bernard is saying geofencing is the way to go to regulate speed. Yeah. And that's what I think in many of the, I think geofencing for many systems that we know of, and Pierre, correct me if I'm wrong, geofencing is a feature that many systems have, right? And I would definitely encourage all of you who are using tracking systems to make use of that, because that is a way how you can regulate speeds, especially if you're driving in crowded areas or in cities, or if you want to customize in different locations. So definitely the way to go.
And you can have several levels. You can also start simple with big cities, just to create a zone around big cities to be sure that the speed limitation will be maybe 50 kilometers. And after go further with a school and with the refugee camps. And there are also several levels. But so, yeah, first of all, maybe start simple and after go further.
Yeah. Okay, let's see if there's more questions or comments in the chat. I don't see, but maybe Pierre, you spot them. I don't think so. So a lot of good comments. Two things at least on the CLS wish list for development. And with that, I think we are coming to the end of this webinar. Thanks a lot, Pierre, for this interesting topic. I think there's a lot of there was a lot of interaction, which shows that managing speed and reducing speeding events to make the road safer is on everybody's sort of priority list. So maybe later in the year we can organize another webinar around this. I would like to thank Pierre for facilitating this webinar. I would like to thank all of the participants in this webinar for your active participation. We did post a little link with a question to rate the webinar, and as always, we will send you the link to the recorded version later. So thanks a lot, and hope to see you next time.
Thanks a lot, all, and have a good day. And do not hesitate for any questions, also to send me an email.
Okay.
And have a good day.
Okay,
bye. See you soon. See you in Fit Forum conference. Bye.